Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home. Welcome everybody to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive. And this is a super juicy topic I'm going to dig into today, and comes, right off the heels of my own personal experience. My life is my best teacher, and I get my lessons from my life's experiences, and I share them here hot off the press. So, hey, if you have not left a comment about the Heal Your Hunger show, if you like the show, please, will you leave a review in iTunes? You just go to the show, and I think you click on a particular show, it takes you to another page where there are reviews, and I think you can press a button that says leave a review. Will you please do that? This is my request. I don't ask much of you guys, but if you could do that, I've got just shy of 100 positive comments, and gosh, it would mean the world to me, and it would help other people find this show and get the help and the inspiration they need if you leave your comments. So for the good of womankind and really helping emotional eaters worldwide, would you please do your small part by leaving a review? That would be amazing. It's a big part, not a small part. Makes a big difference to the show and the show's reach. So thank you for that. And if you haven't joined us in the Secret Sauce group yet, please go to Facebook and type in the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating Now, and you will be accepted in. We love people who want to be a part of our tribe, people who struggle with food and weight, who are eager to overcome it by non-dieting means. This is called weight loss from the inside out, okay? This is how I healed from 50 pounds of overweight in my body, and this is how so many other people are healing in the Heal Your Hunger community. So please join us there in the Secret Sauce group, and that's where I record this. I'm recording live right now for the Secret Sauce group, and you can comment on the show in there and just be a part of, because we can get pretty isolated as emotional eaters, as bingers, as secret eaters and dieters and all that. So thanks for joining me there. So on with the show. Today's show is really about when to help and when not to help, and what to do when we have the urge to help, which is really more like a compulsion. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that. And the reason why this has come up for me is because, and it does for so many of my clients, but it did for me personally just now, which is why I'm like, I'm going to share about this. I have a friend who is going through some financial challenges. And, I've had lots of friends in financial challenges, and there have been times when, if I had the ability to help, I helped. I also, contribute to causes that I believe in, and people in underserved communities, when there's nonprofits I believe in, I like to contribute, not large amounts of money, but I do my part. So that's really important to me. And, when somebody is struggling and they're close to me, sometimes I get, and this just happened to me, I get really uncomfortable in my body and I get an urge to help, okay, which could be called an urge to rescue, okay? Have you ever had that? Have you ever had somebody near you who struggled and had issues and financial issues, and you wanted to help, you just wanted to get in there and really you wanted to rescue? Have you felt that? That urge. If I'm talking to the right people here, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. That's that, oh my God, it's almost like you can't help yourself. You have to jump in and rescue. And it may not be with money. It may be with assistance. It may be with, lending them a bed, to sleep in, or a car to drive, or money, or doing their work for them, or whatever. I mean, there's so many different ways we can help, and there are many ways that we do rescue, and it's not help, it's rescuing. And the reason why this is a problem for emotional eaters is because we are natural born rescuers. Many of us grew up in homes that had dysfunction, okay, whether it be alcoholism or some kind of sickness or trauma or, misfortune, or, people who are just dysfunctional and were not living wholesome lives. I mean, fill in the blanks, right? You know your story. When we grow up with dysfunction, oftentimes as a coping tool, we learn to rescue, especially if it's an alcoholic or addicted parent. Okay, we grow up really fast and all of a sudden we're not the kid, we're the parent, and we're parenting the parent who can't get it together, can't get to work, can't keep the money in the bank, blows the paycheck. There's no food in the fridge. So many of you have had these experiences. I hear from you every day. I hear it from my clients, really tough situations in childhood. And that, no question, leads to emotional eating because, when we grow up with dysfunction, when we learn these coping tools of rescuing, of becoming grown-ups very quickly and learning to pay the bills or taking care of the younger siblings or, making sure that the person gets to the job or doesn't get in trouble or whatever, we jump in to rescue, save, fix. Okay. And this is a coping tool. This is what we learn early on. Problem is we hold on to it and we carry it into our adulthood. And then it becomes a dysfunctional trait that leads to emotional eating because we're taking on more than we can. Okay. And we're eating to bolster ourselves so we can get through it. This is such a typical scenario. Do you relate? Does this make sense? Am I landing here? Right? And emotional eaters, time and time again, are caretakers and rescuers. And it's just built into our DNA. We're helpers. We're jumping in. Typically, wherever there's an alcoholic man, you'll see an emotionally eating woman. Okay. They go together like peanut butter and jelly. So, and vice versa. You can have a compulsive overeating man with an alcoholic woman just as easily. It's just a very typical and probably more pronounced pattern with the alcoholic man and the overeating woman. So that's a problem. And guess what? It has to change in order for us to change. Okay. If we expect to eat differently, we have to live differently. And I tell my clients time and time again, it's not an eating problem. It's a living problem. That's why diets don't work, is because you're chasing, fixing the food, which is a symptom, instead of fixing the problem, which is how we're living. Okay. It's not an eating problem. It's a living problem. If you don't address your living problem, and you don't make fundamental changes all throughout the way you live, because trust me, the way you live, if it's causing you to overeat, if it's causing you to binge, it ain't working. Okay. And you better do something about it if you have, if you want to have any hope of actually healing your overeating problem. And I'm just giving it to you straight. I've been doing this work for 30 years. I've been a dysfunctional soul. I've been a rescuer. And this is what it takes. It takes changing the way we live. So back to my personal experience, I wanted to rescue. I had that compulsion. And I think that's when it's a rescuing situation versus a helping situation, is when you feel so compelled you almost can't stop yourself. Okay. And that to me is when it's like that, that's when there's something dysfunctional or unhealthy about it, when it's a compulsion versus a inspiration, from God, something you want to take action on. So what happened for me is I had this compulsion, and twice I suggested to this person that I help, and I had the opportunity to help, and this is in a financial way. And as soon as I said it, I started to feel unsettled. It happened twice. I started to feel unsettled and just not quite right, and just a little unsure of myself and wobbly. I felt wobbly. So the first time I'm like, forget it. And I withdrew my offer, which is not a comfortable thing to do. Somebody's in need and you're offering, and then you Indian give. So, but I know that I need to follow my heart. And so that's what I did. I said, no, actually it doesn't feel right, like the right move. And I don't want to jeopardize our friendship if it's not the right thing. Our friendship is more important than this immediate need, or fixing this immediate need, which is absolutely the truth. So that was over. But it came up again because the urge was so great. It was like a craving. It was this urge, a few days later, I don't know if it was a week later or whatever. And I got the urge again. And I felt stressed, and I felt like, I want to fix the situation, and I can fix it. I'm in a position right now to fix this immediate need. And so I offered, and then I started to feel yucky again in my body. And our bodies, friends, our bodies are wonderful truth tellers, okay? Not only in the overeating. If we start to overeat, we know there's something wrong. If we have cravings to eat, there's something wrong, immediately wrong. It ain't just a craving. It is not just a craving. There's something there to look at. So in my body as well, I didn't have an urge to eat, but I had just uncomfortableness. Oftentimes it shows up in my stomach, in my tummy, I get a knot or a tightness. Some people, like, you may have it show up in your throat, like your throat gets tight, or your chest, your sternum is tight, or your abdomen. Where does it show up for you? Your body's talking. Our bodies are brilliant, and they respond to our energy, and they are incredible truth tellers. So my body started feeling tight and uncomfortable, and I felt wobbly again. And it's sort of like I couldn't find my center. Like I didn't feel centered like I normally do. I didn't feel happy like I normally do. I started to feel stressed and concerned and worried, and I wasn't sure if this was the right thing for me to do. And I got afraid financially to do that. And I listened, granted, I did it again. I did it the first time, and I listened only momentarily, and then I got back into it. So that happens sometimes. And so the second time, same response in my body. And I listened, and this time I'm like, okay, twice I hear it. It's definitely, this is my truth. My truth is I can't help out, and I don't want to jeopardize the friendship. So I said, hey, can't do it. Sorry. And it was totally fine. Friendship is more important. So that passed. And the rest of the week I felt great. And I felt my usual calm self, my happy self, my grounded self. And sure enough, that was confirmation to me that was the right decision. And what happened for my friend is that money and resources appeared in another way. And that was even more confirmation to me. And it was a business need, not a personal need. It was a business need. But it confirmed for me that I had made the right decision. And it also showed me that following your heart and, not helping when it's an urge, when it's a compulsion, when it's a rescuing situation, not jumping in to rescue takes faith. And what I mean by that is when you have that compulsion to rescue, and let me just take a little side trip here and say that compulsion to rescue, does usually come from just a place of unhealedness in ourselves. Okay. So, the fact that I wanted to rescue, I had to take a look at that. Like, what was that? And my experiences, I've gotten so much better through years of not rescuing. I mean, almost like ninja. And this is like a healing of codependency, because really what we're talking about is a codependency with people, which is very typical for emotional eaters, getting enmeshed with other people and other people's problems, being empaths. Okay, there are many names for it: codependency, empathic. Emotional eaters are very empathic. So they feel other people's pain and they jump in the soup with them often. And I felt like I was in the soup with this person this week. That's why it felt bad to me. That's why it was feeling murky and muddy and like wobbly, is because I was swimming in soup, And so this compulsion to help and this rescuing tendency, it comes from an unhealthy place. And that's why it was feeling bad to me. And that's why I felt immediately ungrounded. I could tell, again, those are messages. Our body gives us messages. My feeling ungrounded and I just couldn't get my footing, and I didn't feel calm. Those are messages I've learned to listen to. And you can as well. Of course, if you're stuffed with food, you're not going to hear those messages as easily. Okay. And that's why overcoming emotional eating is so important. If I'd been eating through this deal, I might have gone through with this rescuing without noticing the clues. Okay. That's the beautiful thing about overcoming emotional eating, is that we can hear clues. We can hear God. When we overeat, we pack down that still small voice. We cover that still small voice, that Christ spirit, the divine spirit within us. We pack that down with food, and then we can't hear it. It's just like a snowstorm. You take a beautiful flower and you cover it with 2 feet of snow. You can't see that flower, that beautiful blossoming alive flower. That still small voice, which is the living, breathing voice of God inside, or whatever you call it, when we pack that down with food, that's like 2 feet of snow on top of the flour. And I need that guidance. I need to hear God inside of me. I need to hear, again, whatever you call it, the Holy Spirit, the Christ Spirit. I need to hear that still small voice so I get my direction, and this is the reason why so many overeaters' lives are so chaotic, is because they're packing down that voice and they're going on unhealthy guidance, which is coming from their head and from fear. So when I get afraid because my friend's business might go under and I want to rescue, that's coming from fear. That is not the Holy Spirit. That is not God inside of me. That is fear. That's fear, and whatever you want to call fear. Some people call it the devil, and I know why. But that is, that's an unhealthy place. And that is why people's lives are so chaotic. Why emotional eaters get involved with the wrong people, with jobs where they get, shit on, and, their money situations are a wreck. They're just making messes all over the place because they're not tapped into that still small voice. My clients who are on this healing path and are overcoming emotional eating, they're getting so clear, and they're learning to have faith and follow their guidance, and their lives are cleaning up, and the messes are cleaning up and going away. So it's not just the food that gets better. It's like everything. It's a package deal. Everything gets better. When you're not putting out fires in your life, you're not needing extra energy and extra, just something to draw on, like food and sugar and carbs. So the point is, I heard that still small voice. I was able to follow that still small voice, and that takes faith. And so not rescuing, there's a moment when you choose not to rescue, when you see and feel somebody's pain and you don't jump into the soup with them. Folks, that's not easy. That is not easy to walk away from. Because how strong, could be your kids. Probably the hardest lesson is not rescuing your children, because they get into messes, and kids need to learn how to solve their own problems. Obviously, if they're little ones, they need guidance from mom and dad, but as they become young adults, they got to make their own mistakes. And as kids too, they need to learn that the fire's hot, and sometimes, they might have to feel a little bit of that heat to realize they shouldn't put their hand over there. But the bottom line, not that you'd let them burn themselves, don't get me wrong, but the point is, whatever their scrapes are, sometimes those scrapes will help teach them. And so when we don't rescue the people who seem to need rescuing, and it takes courage and faith that it's going to work out, and we're not God. Okay. So that's the scariest part, is when we have to trust that we're not the only ones in that person's life, that we're not the only ones who can help, that our help isn't necessarily what they need. It's really stepping down from the God role, because a lot of times we play God in people's lives. Where are you playing God in somebody's life? Where? And you know it, okay? I know, as you're listening to me, I know you have an inkling of what I'm talking about and who I might be talking about, okay? So who comes to mind as somebody you might be stepping in a little too much to meddle? Okay, you might be saving somebody from the consequences of their decisions, in which case they're not going to learn. That's the point, is that we have to let people, realize the consequences of their choices and their decisions, so that they feel the full consequences, and then they might make different choices next time. But if we're always stepping in to rescue and to save and to protect, they don't feel those consequences, and they might make the same mistake over and over. So are we really helping? Okay, so it takes faith to walk through those uncomfortable feelings. And that's what happened to me this week, is I had to sit there and say, nope, I'm not going to rescue, even though I ostensibly can jump in and help. I'm not going to do it, because it doesn't feel like the right decision for me. And I'll tell you right now, if something's not right for you, it's not right for anybody. Because this person, I'll tell you why, that faith and holding on and going through this uncomfortable space of, oh my God, I want to help, this person needs help, and I'm not helping, those are uncomfortable feelings. And that's usually where we break, and we're like, we just give in and say, I can't take it anymore. And that's where I was. I'm like, I can't take this. It's too much pressure for me. I want to fix this for myself. I can't bear to see this person hurting and me not help. So I had to walk through those feelings, and that takes faith. And I had to just turn it over to God. I had said, God, you help this person. I can't do it. It's not right. It's not the right choice for me. Per your orders, because I was listening, per your orders, I'm not going to help. And so you take it. It's not my responsibility. This person is not my responsibility. They're not my charge. I'm going to let this go, as uncomfortable as it is. And the point is, we have to sit through uncomfortable feelings when we choose not to help or rescue. Really, rescue is what we're talking about here, when it seems like we should. Okay. This is a decision that parents have to make when they have children who are addicts. You've heard about tough love. This is the tough love. And many parents have to learn, and they learn it the hard way, because they rescue until they realize they're hurting the person by rescuing them, standing between them and the consequences of their abuse of drugs or alcohol or food or porn or, gambling, whatever. So it takes walking through some uncomfortable feelings. That takes faith. And I tell you, the end of the story is that this friend totally had somebody else come through for them, the right kind of people, investors in business, ones who do that regularly, for struggling businesses. And I had nothing to do with me. I had nothing to do with it. But I had stepped aside, and energetically, I think I might have even helped. I obviously didn't fill the vacuum. So the vacuum got filled in another way. The vacuum existed for somebody else to fill, the more appropriate, source to fill. And it was such a beautiful lesson and confirmation for me that when it's not right for me, it's just not right. Bottom line, it's not my responsibility. So I just share this because rescuing and getting in the soup with people and taking on other people's burdens and playing God in other people's lives, these are all very typical actions for emotional eaters, very typical, scenarios. And I want to encourage you to follow your heart. First of all, get help for emotional eating, so you know what God's really telling you, and then take action on what follow that guidance, that still small voice, so that you can do the right thing for yourself, and which is always ultimately the right thing for everybody else, and it will work out, and also people who are used to using other people, like addicts, if you have an addict in your life, you keep helping. Or if you have a significant other or somebody who leans on you too much or whatever, I want to tell you that if you stop rescuing, this person will get resourceful and find other places, to get the help they need, or they'll find other suckers. If you're a sucker in somebody's life, guess what? You're not going to be the only sucker. If you stop being a sucker, they'll find other suckers. Painful, I know. That might have stung a little bit, but it's true. There's always a sucker. So don't be a sucker in anybody else's life. Stop rescuing. You're not God. You're not as powerful as you think. And playing God and rescuing is hurting you. It's hurting you, and it's contributing to your overeating. And if you're honest with yourself, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. So tough pills to swallow, but really, really nourishing in the end. Okay. This is the nutritional, supplement you need in order to have a more successful life and a better relationship with food. So I hope this has landed. I hope that you jump in the Secret Sauce group and comment on this. It's a juicy topic. And it's one we can all relate to. If you're a big time rescuer, join the club. We've all done it. It doesn't make you bad. It just is something to take a look at and start making changes with. And you'll see the fruits of those changes in every area of your life, including and especially your relationship with food. So it's been great being with you. I love you so much, and I'll see you on the next show. Thanks so much. And don't forget to leave a review on iTunes. Thank you so much. Much love.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.